to bLU Talks.
Hello.
Hello, I'm so excited to be with you today.
I'm excited to be with you today. Even though we've never met, I'm just still excited to be with you today.
Well, I so appreciate being invited to share today.
Well, welcome to the bLU Talks Flip Your Script Experience stage. My name is Elise, as you know. And Lisa, do you know Diana?
I do not, no.
Okay, so we're going to get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So, first question I ask is, where in the world are you, Diana?
I am in beautiful Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Oh my goodness, close. You're getting closer to the Florida, Wiki Wachi, Florida.
Yeah.
So,
I keep thinking I need to make a trip to Florida. I've got so many connections and friends that are in Florida. I need to just make a road trip.
okay, well, let me know. Definitely let me know when you're making the road trip. Chapel Hill's beautiful. Is that near Apex?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a really good friend that's in Apex. So
Yeah, it's the Raleigh-Durham. It's the Raleigh-Durham area. Like University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is 10 minutes from my house. It's a big university, college area.
Yeah.
Is that where you're from originally?
No, I'm actually from Columbus, Ohio.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, so then we dig a little, like, how do you have family, children? We want to get to know a little bit more about
Tell us your story.
Yeah, I have two. I have two grown children, two grand dogs, no grandchildren, and that's okay. I am so proud of my kids. They're very amazing and wonderful. Unfortunately, because they live in Ohio, I only see them a couple times a year.
Mm-hmm. Well, welcome. So, what brought you to the bLU Talk stage, Diana?
Well, actually, I met Corey a couple years ago at the New Media Summit.
Okay.
And I was there. The New Media Summit, as you ladies might know, is an opportunity to pitch the podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a podcaster guest matchmaker sort of thing. And I met Corey there. And then right after that, maybe 6 months after that, I hosted my own live stream. And I had Corey come in as one of my speakers, on my live stream. So we've been connected. I'm writing a chapter I have a chapter that's due here in about 3 weeks. So I guess I better get writing. So that's I reconnected with Corey and came to the speaker boot camp, and I'm part of a book that's coming up soon.
So wait, okay, so you said you better get writing. I heard you say that.
Yeah.
So I guess we could start with that story. I mean, if you're going to share the story in a book, that probably is not that we want you to tell us the whole thing, but just a little teaser of what inspired where you're at right now.
Yeah, well, I this idea of what my chapter should be about actually came from a breakout session from the speaker boot camp. And, because
the speaker boot camp?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I was in that too.
Yeah. So, when we had a breakout session, we were sharing our story, and what came to me is the fact that books saved my life. People will ask me, why do you work with authors? And my company's Business Book Partners. So I work with entrepreneurs, speakers, and business leaders that have a big message that they want to get out. And they know that this is the time for them to do that. But why is that so important, right? That's a question I dig with my clients all the time. What's the big why behind this? Whatever it is you want to write, what's behind it? Not the head answer, but the hard answer. The head answer might be, there's not very much information out about this, or it's confusing, or everything's written from an academic perspective. I want to write it, blah, 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 blah. Well, is that a head answer or is that a hard answer?
Yeah, I know for myself, I'm an author and I wrote my own book that came out in 2020, and I wrote it for me. Everyone asks, what's your favorite book you've ever read? And I always say my own book, because it was my own journey, right? My own journey to healing, my own journey to learning, my own journey of my voice being put out into the world. And so when you write a book, you have to have that, like you said, that heart connection of why are you doing this? And if it's not, partly for yourself, then your readers will see that.
Wait, what is the name of your book?
My book is called An Infinite Love.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
that is so awesome.
Coming home to yourself and self accountability, self assuredness, putting yourself out there in the world, learning to love who you are.
Oh, I love that. I wrote a book for me too, but I'll talk about it later because this is all about you, Diana.
Yes. Well, and the reason that dropped in, like, books saved my life.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
It goes back, and sometimes it's hard for us to be vulnerable. It took me a long time to be comfortable sharing the story that I grew up as the oldest of 6 in an alcoholic home.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, when I'm sharing, I get a lot of head nods because people can resonate with that. Yeah. But as the oldest of 6, in growing up in that kind of environment, I found myself trying to shelter my younger siblings from the emotional, not so much physical, but the emotional abuse and turmoil that went on in our home. So I learned pretty early to be quiet, like try to keep the peace, organize things so that we didn't disrupt any more than we needed to. And so when I was in the 5th grade, I had this amazing teacher named Mrs. Lloyd. And she was amazing. And I grew up in I would call it a village, right? 2,000 people counting the livestock, right? A really little rural community in Southern Ohio. And she was just the most amazing teacher. And I can remember at the end of my 5th grade year, everybody was so excited about summer, right? Vacation. And I'm just going to hang out at the pool and I'm going to do this. And I was really sad because, like, school was my life.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't get to see Mrs. Lloyd that summer, right?
Right.
And I was deep in contemplation or thinking about what my summer was going to be like. And I heard something drop on my desk and I looked up and there she was, smiling, Mrs. Lloyd. And I took my grade. Nobody really cared about my grades, and I was probably a couple weeks before I looked at it, and she had written on the back of my grade card 2 words: excellent work, exclamation point. I still have that grade card over here in my bookcase. And and it was all about, like, that year I buried myself into schoolwork. Like, books literally saved my life that year. And when I rewound to what was happening at home in that year, it was the year that my youngest brother was born. And that was not joyful for me as the oldest. There was one more.
I was like, oh my gosh, here we go, add another
one more little person that I need to shelter, right? Or try. I mean, when you're 8 years old, you don't realize that you can't do that. Right? There's no way that you could shelter your siblings from that life situation, but you think you can, or you try to.
That's a lot of weight on a child's shoulders.
Yeah. So Mrs. Lloyd was like the first person, I will just say this, like the first person that taught me that I could be bigger than my circumstance.
Oh, I love her. I love this teacher of yours.
Oh, she was so amazing. And I actually went back. It was so important when I connected the dots to what was happening at home that year that I was in her grade, in 5th grade. I reached out to her because, as I said, I go back to Ohio for Christmas every year, and I started reconnecting with her every December. And first we met at restaurants, and then she was deteriorating, and she said, can you come to the farm? Because she was on oxygen. So I would just go and she would reminisce. She was so still engaged in the school system. Still, her daughter is a school nurse. Her grandson lived with them. Like, she was so immersed in the education system and so caring about the kids in the community, even though she had retired. And I had the honor of seeing her a few days before she passed, and being able to tell her again what the difference she'd made to me.
Well, actually, she planted that seed and you're carrying on her legacy, like big time, and you're doing it in a way that's so brilliant because you're actually the hub. And I don't even know what Business Book Partners is, but I'm assuming that you are encouraging others. So you're actually growing this huge group of, like, beyond this one teacher, right? And beyond the great work or excellent work.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's, when it's recognizing that we all have a powerful story. Just as Lisa was saying, we have something to share with the world. And sometimes the question is, will I do it? I am on this side of the transformation. I have come this far. I have learned these things. There are people behind me that don't know what I know. So the question is not, do I have something to share? The question is, will I step up? Because this is a sobering thought, is that there are people waiting for our message and they can only hear it from us.
Yeah.
Because our story, our background, what we bring to the table is going to resonate with them in a deeper way than reading somebody else's book, because it's Lisa's story. It's what she went through. There are people attracted to that resonate with her and that she can bring into her business by the virtue of the fact she's sharing that.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I just got chills. That's such a powerful message for everyone to hear, that your story is worth sharing, and because someone needs to hear it.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Business Book Partners?
Sure.
Now that we know what inspired, the whole love for books.
And ladies, it takes us a while to kind of connect the dots, of how our background, and like this story with Mrs. Lloyd, it's just how she shaped my life and how I am able to help other people. One of the most joyful parts of what I do is being part of the ripple effect.
That's what I was getting at, right?
That big message being out there in the world, and watching somebody who maybe wasn't 100% sure they could do this, get through this whole process. So I actually work with a lot of authors are at the beginning, like they know this is the time. There's this message in here. There's this calling. There's something, the nudge. Sometimes it's a nudge, and then we get the 2x4. They know it's the time. Like it's bigger than them. They know, like, this is the time. They've got an idea, even if it's vague, but they have no idea how do they write the book? How do they publish the book? How do they launch the book? And then how do they leverage the book to get to whatever the result is that they want? If they want to attract more people into their business, which is what most of my clients want to do, then the way my brain works is I reverse engineer. Okay, if this is the result we want to be on bigger podcasts, we want to create a course or a program, we want to have a mastermind, we want to get on bigger stages, this is what we want. Then my brain kind of reverse engineers to, all right, then these are the people we need to connect with while we're writing. These are we need to go research podcasts that we can be on. We need to figure out how we're going to connect with that dream endorser that we want, for the book, and mentoring, like walking this path with them, no matter what happens, from the beginning to the very end.
Oh my gosh. As an author, having gone through this process, if only I'd met you, when I started writing my book, because this is exactly what people need. Because the publishing world, the author world is a very big unknown if you've never been in it before. And to have someone like you, an angel like you, to kind of, okay, this is where we're going to go. Let me hold your hand here. Let's reach out to this. We want to do this. Such a blessing. Such a blessing.
Absolutely. I know personally, so I'll just jump. So I wrote a book about me. I was having a self-concept meltdown at the age of like around 40 because I had a culinary background, a brand architect. I had all these, I've always been an entrepreneur and a solopreneur. So there's all of these different things. And life to me, being a visionary in a world of limitless possibilities may sound really cool, but comes with a lot of challenges.
Almost too much freedom. I'm the same
Yes.
way.
Well, there's so many choices. And when you see so big and grand, anyway, so I was like having this, like, who am I? Am I a chef? Am I a designer? Am I, what am I? And I thought, if somebody told me that I already was everything that I thought I needed to be validated to be, or I needed a degree to be, or I needed to grow up to be when I was younger, I wouldn't have a self-concept meltdown now. So I wrote a little children's book called I Already Am. And it's about a little girl who goes through this journey. And at the end, she just realizes she already is everything that she thinks she needs to grow up to be and be validated to be. But I self-published. Big mistake. I self-published with a self-publishing company that was connected to a publishing company. And I didn't know that once I got an ISBN number that they wouldn't even touch it. Like, they loved the book, but because it was already published, it was like off the table at the time. So I didn't like the way it looked, so I really, it's on Barnes & Noble and Amazon right now, but I really just let it go. This is like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And if I would have known, Diana, the process before all of this, it would have been such a gift, and not just to me, but a gift to the world, because I believe that self-concept is huge in everything that we do. And you just told us the story about your teacher. What she did is she planted a seed of strong self-concept in you that you have now taken and grown into, I don't even know what. And so, yes, huge what you're bringing to the table for new authors.
Yeah, I mean, it's having somebody mentor, like, be there, like, no matter what happens. Like yesterday, I ran my 104th Amazon bestseller campaign.
Wow.
104.
Congratulations.
Things do go sideways. Things do happen. Unexpected things happen. And knowing that someone is in the trenches with you, like, you are not in this by yourself.
But somebody who knows what they're doing trenches.
That has a proven track record.
Yes.
Exactly. You could be in the trenches with somebody just like you, and now what?
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I've discovered over time is that there are a set of really core questions every author should answer to make sure that they're writing the right book to get the result that they want to the audience that they're here to serve.
Now, is that something that you can share, one or two questions? I love to have an interactive platform where people can have takeaways that they can actually apply in their everyday life after this.
Yeah, well, we just kind of touched on this. Like, the very first thing that I ask of those 7 questions is, why are you writing this? Why is this message so important to you? Can I give you an example?
Please.
Okay. A few years ago, I met this lady who wanted to write a book about the blending of essential oils. Okay. I don't know a whole lot about blending itself. And I asked her, why is this message so important to you? And she would say, well, there's not very much information out about this. And if you buy some books about essential oils, they're only a paragraph, maybe only 2 sentences. People are afraid of it. They don't know what to blend. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Is that a head answer or is that a hard answer?
Heady to me.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all head answer. And so I kept asking the question trying to get to, what is it about the blending of essential oils that is like, you want to invest this time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, and money, like, to write this book? What is it behind there? And I finally asked, I remember this like it was yesterday. It was a phone conversation. And I said to her, was there a pivotal moment when something happened to you or somebody that you cared about where it became so blatantly obvious to you that this message about the blending of essential oils is bigger than you and you have to share it? And there was this pregnant, awkward pause. And then she said this: My husband was diagnosed with leukemia. It's the 3rd day of his treatment, and they haven't told me anything. I don't know whether he's going to live or die. I'm not even sure how I got to the hospital. But somehow I got out of my car and I got to the elevator and I pushed a button and I got up to the 4th floor. And I got into his room, and the nurses and the doctors are rushing around. They still haven't told me anything. And for some reason, I decided to pull those little gripper socks off his feet. And what I saw was a coating, a yellow coating, where the treatment had settled in the soles of his feet. And in that moment, I knew that if I mixed 3 drops of this and 5 drops of that and 3 more drops of this and put it all together, I could massage his feet. That's the only thing I could do in that moment as his wife to help him.
Wow.
So if you were looking for a book on essential oils, and that was the introduction, would that speak to you?
Yes, that's very powerful.
I almost got like a little verklempt.
I mean, it was just so, and I think that I think that maybe that was the first time she connected the dots of why this was so important, why getting this message out was so important. So, in her introduction, she could, tell it in present tense as if it's happening right now, like we're watching a movie. And then she could shift into, so if you're a caregiver and you're looking for ways to use essential oils to help the person that you're here to care for, this book is for you. Or if you're curious about how you can use essential oils for aromatherapy, this book is for, like, that becomes her jumping off point to introduce us to the content. But without that story, she sounds like, the Charlie Brown teacher in the background, the wah, 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 like we don't have any connection. We don't have any context. We don't know who this person really is. So that's where I always start, is like, why is this so important? Because that's what's going to keep us going when we want to quit.
Mm-hmm. It's the story.
And sometimes I have to go back when they're having a moment, and Lisa maybe had some of these moments where, and maybe you did too, at least when you were writing the book, is like, you have a breakdown. It's like, I can't do this. Who am I to write this? Who's going to read? Like we have these meltdown moments, sometimes more than once. Mm-hmm. That's when I have to say, okay, let's go back to why you're writing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the going back now, like for I Already Am, is it needs to be told. Self-concept growing up is key. Like this is everything that we're talking about here, right? Mm-hmm. Every single story, every single organization, every single person that I have the pleasure of interviewing it's the same thing. It comes down to recognizing our value, trusting ourselves, right, Lisa? Recognizing that we are of value. And I think that when a child recognizes that they're of value, then when they open their mouth and every move and every action they take, they know they're making an impact. But if somebody doesn't recognize that they matter, then their actions don't matter. Mm-hmm. And so to have a book out there for parents, really it was a children's book for parents to read to their child, to recognize that your child already is everything that you are pushing them to be, or wanting them to become, or needing them to change for. And so I think for me, having somebody like you, and I'll probably be calling you, this has been a week of reaching out to my guests. Like, this is the first, I feel so blessed. I'm like, wow, this week was really designed by the universe for all of these like little missing pieces of the puzzle that I've made that set the intention for, like really filling in, because it is important for us to recognize that we matter. If your teacher didn't come to you and tell you how excellent you were, who knows? What would have unfolded. And the same for you, Lisa, going through this process and this process with yourself and writing this story to yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wrote the story to me. It was really like, a story about my little girl who was searching to be validated, to finally be something. And then I decided, well, then I could just say I'm a children's book author. And I never even tell anyone I am. Like, that was in my head. I'm like, I'll just put everything that I ever did that I already was into a book. And I'll just tell people I'm a children's book author. And the funny thing is that a lot of people don't even know I wrote a book. So it is important to have that message, because you never know who you're going to touch. You could touch the adult or the child or your inner child.
Diana, how do you encourage your clients, your authors, to keep going? You know, because there were so many days when I sat at my computer and I'm like typing like J, because like nothing was coming. And I recognize part of that was like fear and ego, a little ego in there. But when that happens for your authors and your clients that you work with, how do you encourage them to keep moving forward on their path of storytelling?
That's a great question.
Yeah, you know, everybody's on there. Well, here's the thing, and I know you ladies know this. Writing a book is a personal development journey, right? Because we are clarifying our message and we're writing from the heart, and things are coming up. I have had authors write things about tragedy that happened in their life, losing their husband who was diagnosed with stage 4, and she couldn't even accept, she didn't really understand. She thought, well, we'll just fix it, right? We'll just get the hospital bed. We'll just, until the doctors looked her in the eye and said, Karen, he's got 6 weeks. Until they said it that plain, like, my authors are writing about some really deep things with an eye towards how do I help that person that doesn't know what I know. So it is a personal development journey. And it is, you know, when we hit that place where we don't really know or we're stopped, we got to reach out and get help and find someone who can hold the space that can listen to, so Lisa, what are you feeling right now? What's going, you know, what exactly, you know, this, sometimes all you need someone to listen. And if you say, I just can't write today, I just can't. I just, like, nothing's coming to me. Give you permission. Okay, don't write today.
That give you permission piece. It's hard.
When did Business Book Partners, when was she born?
I have actually been working with authors since 2010. So it's been a while. My background is my corporate background is in the banking space. And so it's kind of I'm an unusual mix of, in my corporate career, I was very highly, almost every assignment was project management. The bank that I worked with was purchased by Chase. So we were used to, we were the bank that was acquiring. So we were the ones, I was on the corporate jet going to this bank that we just bought in Lexington, Kentucky, where the head of acquisitions was going his way. And I'm going over to talk to the credit card people because all of their information is coming to our system, right? They didn't have a choice. Now, all of a sudden, we're being purchased by Chase.
So you're on the flip side of it.
You're on the other side of the table, and nobody knew who was going to be in charge, the Chase managers or our managers. And so, but one of the things that I did, I actually ran the entire program office for the retail side of Chase, and those projects affected the stock price. So it was very much, the merger was happening. All these things jobs got eliminated, locations got closed, people got relocated. We had this merger that we had to work on. And I found myself wearing 2 pagers, one on each hip, one for my department and one for the merger. But so what I've done, and the reason I tell you that is I've taken that, you know, because all of us are a culmination of all of our skills and experience and training and programs and trying things that didn't work and finding the things that did work. And we bring all of that stuff right to our clients. I've taken that project management methodology and applied it to the book process. So if I were talking to Lisa about her book, we would start with, okay, let me put together a high level timeline. This is how long to allow for each of these things. this is the earliest that we could launch. How does that feel? How does that fit with your life and your other commitments? So it's a culmination of project management with business coach. I'm a certified business coach I'm also a marketing strategist, and I'm a publishing expert. So all rolled into one, being able to guide people through a proven process. You get on here, 8 months from now, we will come out over here.
So you're like the whole team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm one stop. Like, we do cover design, we do interior formatting, I do the bestseller campaign, work with people on the marketing side of it. And I love it. The first author that came into my world, ladies, was somebody who had a book out. Her book had been out for a year. And she was so disappointed because she sold 57 copies primarily to friends and family. That was not why she wrote the book. But people told her she should write a book because she'd written all these articles for Women's Magazine and write a book. The problem is it wasn't targeted enough. So that experience, I wave this flag of make sure you're writing the right book to get in front of the right audience, your ideal clients in most cases, to get the result that you want at the end. So I have a set of 7 questions, and we were just talking about like why and who. The next question is the who. Who are we writing this for? Mm-hmm. And being as clear as possible so that you can speak in the language that person's going to understand. So
now,
those are
those questions posted somewhere, or is that part of your program?
I'm happy to share. I have a free resource that shares those 7 questions, and that's where I would say everybody needs to start, because if we don't know the why, the who, what the problem is that we're solving, because we buy nonfiction books to solve a problem, and we don't know what we want to be known for, so at least 25 years from now, someone could pick up your children's book in a thrift store. They're going to see, right? We're leaving a legacy. That's the other sobering thing about this. This book's going to be out here for a long time.
Right.
What is the legacy that we want to leave when we're no longer here?
Do you work with mostly nonfiction books or books of all genres?
Nonfiction. Mm-hmm. So my clients are writing something tied to their business or tied to their big mission. I've also worked with some retired military folks. They definitely have a big message to share.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if somebody, yay, I know, where can I find you? Outside of on this stage. I mean, I can go on Messenger right now because I think we're connected, but somebody else who's listening now who has maybe even they're just like thinking, wow, I never really thought about it. Maybe it's something I'd like to do. Where could they find you?
Yep. Just go to businessbookpartners.com. That's my website. I also have an entrepreneur author Facebook group called Build Your Business with a Book.
Nice.
Build Your Business with a Book. You can come over and join me there. You could always email me at diana@businessbookpartners.com. Anyone who's thinking they know 2022 is my year. Like, this is my year. Like, I know there's something in here saying it's time. I would be happy to have a conversation. I'd love to hear what the book idea is and see if there's a way that I might be able to serve the folks that have that big message. They just don't know how to get it out.
So I'm going to ask a question for those that may be in a situation where I've been standing and having this book standing probably on self-published shelf. So let's say somebody wrote a book already and they took the wrong path initially. And they were open to make some changes, because that I learned that if you made some changes, you could change your ISBN number. So it's literally, it's really not the same book anymore. Is that a potential client that you would work with, that they've taken the book, they haven't really done anything with it, they weren't, the whole what I just shared with everyone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because that would be of great interest even to me personally. I kind of shelved it. I get a lot of phone calls now from, I don't know if there's companies out there. They're like, I found your book and, we'd like to do something with your book. And honestly, I don't pick up and I don't respond, because I just feel like I don't know why I haven't responded, but like having a conversation with you right now, I feel your authenticity, right? Like we're face to face, so to speak. And so I really feel like, and also when you write a book, it's really personal. Like I don't want to just put it in anyone's hands. Now I realize that. And that's why self-publishing for me, I thought was the right avenue at first, because they had the creative license. I could create the book exactly the way it came out of me or through me. So yes, the answer is that if somebody already has a book and they need your guidance.
Yep. I often have people come to me and they want me to help them with their launch. And the book is done, or so they think. So I say, send it over. So they send it over. And generally there are two things that are missing. The heart story is nowhere. Like there's nothing that, like that story I just told you about the lady with the essential oils. There's no real heart story. There's nothing to connect to the audience. And there's nothing inside the book that leads the reader to your email list. So what is your call to action? If you're writing a book tied to your business or tied to your big mission, you want to be leading those readers and giving them something else of high value to get them on your email list. The person that cares enough about your topic to come get your guide, your workbook, your meditation, whatever that extra thing is a highly valuable lead that you can then nurture the relationship, follow up, have an email sequence, because this is an asset. This is a marketing asset for your business. And a lot of authors they're not even thinking about that. Yeah. So I
thought about it, but haven't really done anything. I'm going to be very vulnerable. I haven't done anything with it. I wrote a whole book on how to flip your script from a whole like story standpoint. Nobody would know I did that either. So like it's about having somebody to say, hey, this is a tool. This is great. Like put it together. Again, that buffet, when you're so busy in the vision and creating, you need somebody like Diana to say, absolutely. Okay, let's take all of these incredible things that you've created and put them together and cohesively, right?
Yeah.
And then here's your end game.
Right. Yeah. So, if the book is already written, like the first thing I do is I go through it and assess to see, and usually those two things, one or both of those things are missing.
First one is call to action or contact.
Heart story.
Heart story.
Yeah. And then call to action. Like where are we moving these readers? What do we want to do with them? Where are we taking them next? Do you have a course? Do you have a program? Do you want them to come to your Facebook group? Like, what do we want these readers to do? You have no way to stay in contact or be in communication if you don't have their email address.
Diana, I have a question for you. What are one or two books that you've read that have been very influential in your life?
Lisa, that's the best question today.
Think and Grow Rich would be my first choice. I've read that at least 7 times, at least 7 times. And I would say the second book is Covey's 7 Habits.
Oh, it's the second time today we've heard.
Yes.
When I was in the corporate world, for 26 years, I was so blessed to be on the leadership team. And we actually had somebody come in from the Covey Institute that taught those principles. And the whole thing of start with the end in mind. That's what we're talking about here with this book. Like start with the end. What is the result that we want? And then everything that we need to do to get, it becomes so clear. But if we don't know where we're headed and what the result that we want, sort of writing in the wind, like we think that the skies are going to part and the angels are going to sing and some miracle is going to happen at the end. But we got to start with the end in mind. And that training from Covey, I actually have the workbook. I have all the materials. I still have it from years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this has been incredible. I knew I adored you from when you reached out. I think you reached out to me last night.
I did.
And I was like, I can't wait to meet her tomorrow. Quick question for you. Mind Seed. did you hear about the thought weeds and the mind seeds? Were you able to hop on a little bit before you came on
I
today?
did listen to a few, but if you could like reiterate,
Sure. So when we flipping our script is all about writing, but it's an internal script, right? We all have an internal script, and it starts from childhood, right? And our script can be flipped by one teacher telling us that we're excellent. So, but we have a lot of thought weeds, and these thought weeds, when we think of them long enough, turn into these beliefs. But as we start to flip our script and pull the thought weeds, we need to replant. We need to start to restory intentionally with a focus, right? With a goal. Where are we going? And so a mind seed is the seed of thought that we plant in place of the thought weed that we were able to sort of clear and get rid of. So I love to have new perspectives and new seeds of perspective planted from each of our guests. So if you have a mind seed to share with us, that would be wonderful.
I would say my message is important. And it's one of the reasons that I'm here is to share it.
I love it.
I love that.
It's validation, right? So my message is important.
There's a calling. There's a reason that we're here. There are people waiting for the message.
Oh, beautiful.
I love it. Diana, thank you so much. You will be hearing from me personally.
Me too.
probably after like 2:00, I'll be reaching out. This has been the week of reaching out to these amazing, amazing thought leaders. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with us. Also, as I say to all of our guests, please go to bLU Talks Flip Your Script Experience group. We're posting this and it's live. We also have the replay there. LinkedIn, YouTube. If you reach out to Corey will let you know what platforms and where this interview is being posted. And in the comments, you can put your contact information. And that contact information will stay there for the length of the archive, right?
Awesome.
For the length. So anytime people want to go back and watch, they can find you.
Okay, awesome. I'll be happy to do that.